Okay, a self-generating car, or as I call it, the AutoAuto. It's really easy to use. You just hit every time you click play on the script. Boop, 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 boop. It gives you a new version of the car, and you just set them up. And there you go. Some of them are ugly as sin, and others are actually look kind of cool. If you want to use the car in your own projects, you have to append both the car object and the Python script. So file, append, go into the project file, object, and there it is, AutoAuto. And then we have to grab the Python script that makes it run. So file, append. We just have to go up one level over to text, and there we go. There's the AutoAuto code. And I wonder if there's a way to make them both import at once. I don't know. But hop into rendered view. But now, if we slide open a new panel and go into the text editor, our script is waiting for us. And all we got to do is hit run, boop, 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 and it'll just start giving us cars. Cool. This is a very monochromatic batch, isn't it? Which, honestly, so I looked up how frequently there's stats on how common different car colors are, and I tried to do that. But cool. I'd also love to figure out a way to just keep clicking run and it doesn't all appear in the same place. But I'm still trying to. I'm very slow at learning Python. And huge thanks to Curtis Holt, both for his amazing YouTube videos and for helping me get this as far as it is. He did most of the Python code. But all right, so the way it works is I've got a bunch of different shader nodes randomizing a bunch of different stuff. Like the headlights are random, the grills are random, the hubcaps are random, the taillights are random. There's different amounts of dirt and different things like that. I've tried to do that without going too nuts because I want it to be fairly lightweight. There's also, every time you run the script, and the thing I couldn't figure out how to do without a script, it randomizes all of the shape keys here. And so you can actually go through and tweak these if you want. Like, let's give this one a trunk divot. Oh, that's a divot. Occasionally it'll get weird, like these headlights are kind of doing something a little bit funky, but from a distance, it doesn't really matter. And that's what I designed this for. I designed this for filling out background scenes and things. I did experiment with getting the wheels to turn, and that's what will be coming in version 2. And little randomizing people, I think, driving inside. This has a mirror modifier on it, which introduced quite a few little tricky things, actually. But what's fun is, so you have to hit play to get different randomized shape keys, but once you do that, you can just select everything and hit Alt-D to make new instances of it, and it'll be the same shaped cars, but different colors. And so it's really easy to give the illusion of there being a bunch of different cars while still being able to reuse some of the same geometry to keep your files from being absolutely huge. If you want like 10 bazillion cars, I recommend implementing collections. So we'll just select all the cars, and here, just select stuff we don't want. Hit Control-G, and say, yeah, car. Let's call this the new car wad. And then if you hit Shift A or go up to the add menu, you can just add in the new car wad. And you can add 10 bazillion of these, and it barely makes any difference, like RAM-wise. It doesn't slow anything down. The computer's just like, oh yeah, it's the same cars over and over. But because we have the materials randomized, it won't look like it's repeating. And you can even, flip them or something if you really care. It does take a second to compile the shader because there's a lot going on, and I also want to dig deeper into which shader nodes are particularly heavy, and so I can avoid those because I want it to be able to run really easily on as many machines as possible. But hey, okay, so not bad for stuff like that. And this was kind of in response to just every time I want to add cars to a scene, I have to go on TurboSquid, and it's all you find are like muscle car, BMWs, and stuff, and all of them are huge, and if you find one that's already optimized for Blender, it's got 10 bazillion subsurf modifiers and everything everywhere, and everything's just really bulky, and so this is designed very much to be a lightweight environmental type solution, or something you could feed into a particle system. Get some boids going. Oh, what are they? Oh, you filthy animals! Oh, he's not even dead yet! Oh, humanity! In fact, I threw a rigid body sim on here. It's just a force field. Oh, there it goes. and all the cars are rigid bodies. But can you imagine, like, you film a drone shot or something of somebody walking through a parking lot and all the cars are just like exploding away from them, or like two people punch in like a fight and it's like boosh. Okay, so I just had to go film it with Caitlin with the drone down the street, and it's not a great composite, but it was still pretty fun. Doing it in an action scene would be really fun. I'll also include the parking lot texture because it was surprisingly hard to make, and it actually works. It works pretty good. Actually, okay, so let's jump into the shaders real quick. There's a few you can, here, I'll go back into Eevee. There's a few things you can tweak. At the top of the materials in the number 1 slot, there's car color controls, and in the shader editor, you just tab into that. Here, let me zoom in here. You just tab into that, and it gives you some probabilities. You can change the cleanliness. Let's make them all 0, and that controls some stuff so that they're all just have they got a little bit more dirt on the windshield, a little bit more dirt bouncing up from below. It still affects some cars more than others, but I like to keep it at like, I think 0.5 to kind of just keep it subtle. Headlight probability, you can turn the headlights all on, you can turn them all off. You can also change how bright they are. Like this is too bright. Oh. Now, you don't actually probably want to use the headlight value to actually try to generate light. You probably want to parent some spotlights on the front, just because mesh geometry, emissive materials coming from a small object are a great way to get fireflies, and it'll just run a lot smoother if you use an actual spotlight. But it's nice to know you can crank this if you want. I recommend, I don't know, like keeping it nice and low, 20 or something like that. Actually, let's create a little lighting rig here. I'm going to hit Shift-S and put the cursor to the selection, so I can hit Shift-A and create an empty exactly at where this car is, which I can now parent to the car. Control-P, and let's add a couple spotlights on the front. Crank that up. Just turn down the environment light. I'm gonna duplicate this and turn up the angle too. Maybe up the blend just to give it a little bit more interesting look. And Alt-D, I'm going to duplicate these over here. Cool, and if I parent these to this empty, I can now just like duplicate that and parent it to any car I want. And since I have the copy attributes add-on activated, I can just hit Control-C and copy the location and the rotation, and it'll snap to any car I want. And so that's a very easy way to go through and add a bunch of, and you can, you know, add a tail light back here if you wanted to make it more like, woo, oh, it's floating. There's also another value which I might get rid of. It just pushes all the cars kind of into more colorful zones or into more boring colors. It kind of errs on the side of black. I do like if you go all the way too far, they all become pink, which is pretty excellent. And if you want to go in and tweak this stuff, I mean, you can just dig into the materials. It's all fairly straightforward. Like if you click on body here, you got to tab into this group. But yeah, at the very beginning here, there's body color. And the reason that's its own group is because I use this in a bunch of different nodes. So that like the skylight here, it basically just toggles between the window material and the car body material based off of, you know, some randomness here. And so either it has a skylight or it doesn't. You can change the randomness by changing where this is. So right now all the cars have a skylight, and now none of the cars have a skylight. That's kind of cool. So you get to pick how likely you think that is. And let's go into the car body color here. And this, so it's just randomness going into this color ramp node, and I've tried to match the actual probability of cars that are out there on the road. You can see the pink here is only this tiny little sliver at the very end. But if you ever think there's like too many colors or something, you can just tweak how likely anything is. Oh yeah, everything's mustard, but yeah, you can play around with that. Most cars are black and white, and you're never going to have a distracting parking lot if you if you err on the side of having too many black or white cars. But I like having some other colors in there, and it also goes through some randomness for the hue and the saturation and all of that, so that ideally no car is ever the exact same color twice. So the shape keys are all randomized, but it's all randomized, but the colors, the random shader random seed comes from the object's name, which means, okay, so right now AutoAuto is this kind of dark gray, but if we change it to like, woo, it's, you know, it makes it different. And if we call this one auto, it'll be that same dark gray. And so if you want to, if you like the shape of a car but not the color, you can just start, you know, playing around here until you find one that you like. And just a little more context, I made this for myself for with the thought of using it with CrowdSim 3D, which is this great add-on for Blender, where I think they actually have a fairly full-featured free version too, but it simulates traffic and turn signals and brake lights and traffic lights and pedestrians and all of that. And look, I'll say now, I don't know why I wanted it to just be one object, as opposed to like a rigged thing. I liked the idea of it's just one thing. You don't have to keep track of anything. You don't have to line anything up. If you want, there are like 10 bazillion cool car rigs with physics or whatever available on like the Blender Market or Blendswap, and you could, you know, detach the wheels here, P selection, and you'd probably want to delete all of the shape keys and get rid of the mirror modifier. But then you could parent like the tires in the car to these different rigs and have, you know, a full regular car rig if you want it. What I was trying earlier was using drivers to actually rotate the UV map of the tire as the car moved around on the y-axis, and it worked okay. It goes forward, the wheels roll forwards and backwards and all of that, but unfortunately if it's rotated the other way, it's still, the wheels would go backwards, and I couldn't figure out how to get it to play nice with going on different axes. I thought it'd just be like a Pythagorean theorem thing or whatever. Also, once I had a bunch of cars doing this, even though I thought it was a fairly simple driver, the frame rate slowed down to like 1 frame per second, and so I'm trying to figure out a better solution for that. And okay, I don't know why we're at 12 minutes for what's effectively a very basic asset, but yeah, if any of you have any ideas for how to make stuff more user-friendly or powerful or whatever, I'd be very curious to hear that. But yeah, alright, have a good one.